Hello, welcome back to Willow Talk. Welcome for the first time if you're a new listener. Adam Peacock with Brad Haddin. Another week, another heap to talk about in cricket. Hads, how are you?
Well, I don't want to talk about cricket. I know
Oh,
you've been at the Australian Open. Were you the one that
Yeah.
rolled Djokovic up? Because my mates just want to
No.
say thank you.
No,
They can't stand
no, it
him.
wasn't me.
Oh,
They
what a
can
tit.
send a bunch of flowers to Tony Jones, courtesy of Channel 9 Melbourne. It was nothing to do with me. I've got some good friends who are Serbian, and it was a little uncomfortable, the whole thing. And I imagine the apology. I don't know. As we sit here right now, he's apologised, TJ, and where Djokovic goes from here remains to be seen. But
He's a goose. If it's not COVID he's whinging about and breaking protocols.
Which one?
Oh, my gosh.
Here we go. Shout out to our listeners in Belgrade, and welcome to Willow Talk. I mean, I said on the previous episode, Hads, that Novak Djokovic's son is a massive cricket fan, and he could end up captaining Serbia in the European Cricket League one day. So don't bag him too much.
I'm not bagging him. I just thought you were the one that started everything.
No, it wasn't me. It wasn't me. Now, on this episode, we're going to discuss, it's all of a sudden an injury crisis for the Australian cricket team ahead of their trip for the men's tour of Sri Lanka, which is literally around the corner. We will talk about, with great glee, Australia clean sweeping the one-dayers in the women's Ashes, and looking ahead as we sit here right now. It's before the first T20. We'll know the result as you listen to it right here. I've got a fair idea what might happen and what Hads is tipping at the SCG. Been good viewing, hasn't it, Hads? The women's one-day series, at least.
Well, it's been predictable. This is what we spoke about. After the World Cup, I thought this Australian team was going to come out really hungry, and that's exactly what they've done. They've dominated England. They're doing all the little things right. Australia, they're creating a presence in the field. Their catching's been world class. Their batting has got a bit of steel about them, but as was said before, how good is Ashes leg spinner? It just does not mix for England.
Yeah, a fifer in the third game for Alana Queen King. Before we move on, you want to send a shout out to a friend of the show as well, Hads, connected with the Australian women's cricket team?
Yeah, friend of the show, the captain, Elisa Healy. Mate, she's doing well. I've seen that. We'll talk about it later. But, we've seen her. But, mate, where's our captain? We're normally seeing her here. So, friend of the show, would like to hear from you soon, please.
Well, sometime co-host, been at the moment, feels like just a friend of the show who comes on occasionally. But no, Heels is very busy planning and executing for the Australian women's cricket team. We'll hear from her very soon, hopefully.
Hope so.
Hopefully. And we've got Sundries and some shout-outs. Shout-outs is back today, so it's not a full Ask Hads episode, but there's some shout-outs here. And there's one in particular from a gentleman I know about an incident. I wouldn't call it an incident. It was just a conversation that was had back about 10 years ago, when Hads was playing against India. So we'll get to that a bit later on. Nice little tease there.
I've been set up here.
What? Yeah, good. A bit of housekeeping before we get into it. We're well on track to hit our targets. Well, firstly, 1,000 ratings on Spotify and 250 reviews on Apple Podcasts. We're also within 100 of 10,000 followers on Spotify. Didn't realise we were tracking that well on Spotify. So if you haven't already, hit that follow button. That'd be great. Just on technology, Hads, on our bio, Willow Talk bio, your Instagram handle is there, but it's still vacant. It's still like dormant.
No.
Any update to being hacked?
No.
You back?
I've been back on for ages.
Okay. Yeah. Did you ever get to the bottom of it?
Yes, I got to the bottom of it, Adam.
Good.
Got it fixed from a friend from Google. She fixed it all up, and dickhead. Mate,
so if you're on Instagram,
why would they hack mine? I
don't know.
I'm not even active. I only do it to spy on my kids.
Next is TikTok. Look forward to it, Hads. Over on Apple, Tappy Taplin says, listen religiously. Love the stories, banter and cricket talk. That's a review left there. Thank you, Tappy. JP49 says, great podcast, great guests and great social media content. Well worth a listen and follow. And Mitch Day 1827 says, saw posts on TikTok and glad I came across to give it a listen. Fantastic pod. And Brad Haddin, I love you.
I love you too.
Sweet. Isn't that sweet? think I might twist later in the pod with some shout outs. Anyway, now a reminder, you can get in touch with us on social media. Just search Willow Talk Podcast on TikTok and Instagram. We've had a heap come through, and as mentioned, we've got the shout outs later in the show. And a reminder, hit up Brad Haddin. Just doesn't want cryptocurrency advice on his Instagram, just wants you to shower his DMs with love. Yes. Okay, let's get to the injury crisis, the main topic of conversation. First up is we wait for the tour of Sri Lanka and scratch our heads about who's actually going to play, because Steve Smith injured his right elbow throwing a ball for the Sixers in Friday's match. He's going to see a specialist before flying to Dubai later in the week. Matt Kuhneman, recovering from surgery he had on Friday to fix a fractured right thumb on his right non-bowling hand. He's set to resume bowling this week. Could still join the test squad in Sri Lanka. Pat Cummins is going to see a specialist about increased left ankle soreness sustained in the summer. He's likely to require a period of physical preparation and recovery. Champions Trophy looking more and more unlikely by the day Sri Lanka tour is out. One by one, Hads, you saw the Steve Smith injury. What do you reckon?
Yeah, let's hope it's not as bad as first thought. He got through the remainder of the game. He could still throw it, but we're watching on comms. We did the game the other night, a little bit of play that they did get on, and he went to stop a ball from the boundary and flicked it back, then threw the ball in, and he was playing with his right elbow, which is a real concern for the Aussies leading into Sri Lanka. He's had surgery on that elbow before, I think around 2019, to repair it. So, mate, he's a tough man, and he will not want to give up the opportunity to captain in Sri Lanka. And Australia need him. They need his runs, but his cricket brain over there with Pat being away, so he's important there. But it's a little bit of a concern that he hasn't gone with the squad. But let's hope it's all well and good, because mate, he'll want to get out there, and we'll need him.
Well, as captain, he was never going to put himself in the deep fielding, you dare say, in Sri Lanka. He's just going to hang it first slip. But do you think it's something to do with the extravagant way he grips the bat and the way he manipulates his hands on some shots? Or is it maybe the fact that he's fallen in love with golf? Or I don't know.
Well, he's had this before. It could be a number of things that contribute to it, but let's just hope it's okay. In Sri Lanka, he can get away with not throwing. Throwing is the concern. There'll be a lot of time he'll spend at slip with the spinners. So the concern would be throwing normally, but he won't have to throw. And if he can bat pain free, well, he's right to go. So I think they can manipulate that enough if he's not in too discomfort to bat. I expect him to play. I don't expect Steve Smith to miss this tournament.
If he does, who captains?
Travis Head.
Travis?
Yeah, Travis Head gets the opportunity. When Paddy's there, he's vice captain also with Steve Smith, so he's the next obvious choice. He's done it for his state team. He's got a good cricket brain. So it'll be seamless. He'll go in and get his opportunity, and he'll do a great job. He's been around the team for some time. He's a proven performer. He's spots safe as anyone in the team, so I'd imagine Travis Head would be his replacement if something happened to Steve Smith.
Talk us through the process of tactics on the field on spinning decks as opposed to maybe playing out here in Australia or playing in England. Is it different in any way, your consultation with the senior players, and I'm guessing the wicketkeeper, especially on a spinning deck?
Yeah, it's totally different captaining on spinning wickets. You got to make sure you understand your angles. The other thing is how you use your new ball. A lot of time in Australian conditions, new ball is your best friend. You get the ball to swing and bounce, slips come into play. But on Sri Lankan wickets, you might change your line and everything you're trying to bowl at the stumps. You might have one slip, catch him in wicket. Your deep square might be out straight away because you don't want damage with that new ball. So I actually expect a spinner to open the bowling. I think Kuhneman, and we'll get to him in a minute, is a really important one to get right for this tour, because I think we're going to see him open the bowling a lot. The wickets are as extreme as I think they're going to be from the first day of the first test. Spin could play a role straight away. So, yeah, it is a totally different beast with the way you work your angles. And Steve Smith, one of his strengths as captain, is being really proactive and reading the game in the subcontinent really well. So, as I said, I expect him to be there, but he's not. His captaincy be sorely missed.
With angles, You mean like around the bat? You placing your field placings there, or is it like on where the ring would be, say in a one day?
Oh, well, angles on each. Say you've got a left arm spinner, for example, and you might, with your cover, have him a bit straighter. So you just try to change the batter's eye line and the angle of their bat to get the ball there. And that allows the ball, if it skids, to hit you, go through the gate and get your LB. It's trying to manipulate the field so the batters have to just change the angle of the bat. So if the ball does do a bit, it brings wicket opportunities into play. So that's really important where your field is. And you've got to have a lot of detail in the subcontinent where you want them, because you're trying to get them to open the face and just not use the full face of the bat so the ball can beat you both sides. So, yeah, it can be a tough job captaining in the subcontinent because you're always on. You're always trying to look at little moments in the game, little angles to try to get the batsman to react the way you want them to bring the wickets into play.
Cop that for a bit of cricket nerd chat from B. Haddin early on in this episode.
Mate, producer Sam is actually punching the air. He's in his element out there. He's the nerd chat through and through. Look at him go. This is new level. He's taking his shirt off.
He's going to go and mass produce some Willow Talk T-shirts with Willow Talk and a protractor and a bat pad, like just 3 symbols on a T-shirt. That's coming soon for the Willow Talk shop.
Mate, we've told some great stories and had some fun on this show, but that nerd talk there, this has got the biggest reaction I've ever seen.
Matty Kuhneman, so he's central to those plans about manipulating field placings. So right from the off, so you'd open with him. Say he's fit, you'd open with him over Nathan Lyon.
Well, you've got the option. Nathan Lyon will obviously get the opportunity. Kuhneman with the left arm spin is so important in the subcontinent because it can be so extreme, the spin, but a left arm spinner, that where they get you a lot of the time as a right hander is on the inside. You're not quite sure how big the ball's going to turn. Then with the new ball can skid and go straight on, where it brings LB and bowled into play quite a lot. When we first started, I first started touring India, you're thinking you're going to get done on the outside all the time, but the ball that got you most of the time was a straight one on the inside, because you're thinking about the one turning so much, and that's where the angle of your bat changes. So Kuhneman's an interesting one because he's had surgery, obviously, and I just hope for this kid more than anyone he gets his opportunity to go. He's worked so hard. He's changed states. He's gone to Tasmania for more opportunity. We've seen how effective he was in India. And a bit like Socky O'Keefe, these tours are set up for bowlers like this. And I know it's on his right hand. So we've got a bit of time before the first game. I'd imagine he'll still go. If the wounds...
Have you had... I mean, you've had issues with your fingers, and you've talked before about needling them up. Can you do that as a spinner just in case you cop one in the field?
Well, I reckon you can. If it's on his right hand and the stitches are healed, you haven't got an open wound over there, or it's all then is about dealing with pain. If the doctor gives you the all clear that it's stable, and you can deal with the pain, well, it's game on. And I'd imagine he's a tough Queenslander. I think he's going to play because you could put a needle in it on your right hand that it won't affect your bowling at all. And as I said, if the doctor says it's stable and there's no chance of infection, it's game on. So I expect Kuhneman to be on the tour.
I look forward to seeing him in the deep. I can only presume they'll put him in the deep or somewhere. Like if one's whacked out to him, just trying to catch it.
Well, the other thing with that and playing with broken hands, once you know you can't do any more damage, it's all in your mind. Yes, it might be painful, but if you've got a screw in there, it's set itself. And as I said, the open wound is healed. It's just all in your mind then. And if they put a block in it, and you can easily put a block in your right thumb and still catch it, he'll bat at 11. So I think he'll go. I think he'll be that important to us on this tour, and they'll give him every opportunity to go. And I think just because it's on his right hand, I really think he can get through the test matches. He can field and different, like a 45 to Nathan Lyon, mid-off to Nathan Lyon on spinning wickets. You're not going to get a ball anyway. So I actually think he's going to go. I think he'll recover in time to play.
Well, they've got options galore in the squad. They've got Todd Murphy and they've got Cooper Connolly, the bolter, in the squad as well. So, is there anyone else on the radar that might possibly would be able to go if Kuhnemann says, oh, look, it is pretty bad. I can't front up.
Well, I can't really see any left-arm orthodox around the country that are playing. You've got Andrews who's playing for the Thunder, but he's not playing first-class cricket at the moment. But you got some leg spinners. You got Swepson, who's in the team and plays consistently for obviously Queensland. Roccacello, but you don't need another off spinner. So as I said, I don't think it's concerned. I actually think Kuhnemann's going to play. I think he'll come up in time and be right to go at that open wound heels.
What chances are you, like me, by the day thinking that Paddy's more and more unlikely? It sounds rather significant, this ankle problem that, I mean, he didn't lose any pace throughout the whole tour. So whatever was happening, it wasn't really affecting him at the time. But it's obviously, like, once everything's cooled down, there's a bit of damage there. So, I mean, is there a real point in risking him for a Champions Trophy? Or if you're him, you're desperate to go?
I think Paddy would be desperate to go. It's a big event, the Champions Trophy, but if it's as uncomfortable as it sounds, you wouldn't risk him at all. And he's obviously got the birth of his second child. He's got a lot going on at the moment, and it might be one that he just has to miss. He'll do everything he can to get there. But if there's any shadow of a doubt that it'll cause more damage and he'll be out long term, especially with the calendar we've got next year with the Ashes, I wouldn't risk him.
Fair enough. Mind you, passing up the opportunity to win that jacket that we talked about last episode, it's a tough one.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll in his wardrobe.
You know how it feels.
I actually reckon I've seen Paddy wear that sort of jacket socially, so he might already have a couple.
You don't. Sorry to mention it again.
I didn't go. I was injured.
Yeah, no, missed out. What a shame. Women's Ashes, they're winning things. Games galore.
They're
and
dominating.
On the precipice of winning the Ashes. If you're listening to it right now, there's the big possibility that Australia has retained the Ashes by getting to 8 points in this multi-format Women's Ashes series. So Monday night's first T20 at the SCG. Hads there for Triple M in commentary. As it stands, as we record, Australia leads 6-0, win that 8-0. Can't be overrun in terms of the points with the 2 more T20s and the test match to come at the MCG. So, yeah, it's looking pretty good after the third one day. Australia won by 86 runs in Hobart. Australia were 4 for 59, but then Ash Gardner smashed her maiden international century. Georgia Wareham smacked 38 from 12, which got Australia to 309. And then the bowlers took over. Megan Shute, obviously, moving the ball beautifully, took out England's top order. Alana King, 5 for 46 to win in the 43rd over. Complete dominance. Who got player of the match, I wonder? Who deserves it there? Is it the player that set up the victory or the player that confirmed the victory? Producer Sam is just checking the notes, but I mean, it's a pretty tough choice. Good problem to have. Ash Gardner and Alana King in elite form.
I would go the bowler. I think King would get it there. But Ash Gardner's innings, under pressure after being 4 for 59, the way she played, she took the game on. That total of 8 for 309 is the highest one-day total we've had against England in this country. So England have got this Australian team at a really bad time. A really, really bad time because they're hungry. They'll hurt in a lot after their exit in the World Cup. So they're hungry. Even having friend of the show Healy in a couple of times before they went away, you could see how hungry they were. She pushed herself to get right for this series. And England have just worn the brunt of a really hungry Australian team. King's been outstanding. Gardner. The one thing I've watched is their attitude. The Aussies' attitude has been so superior to England's, and that comes about in the presence they've set in the field. England's fielding has been predictable. They've been horrible. They've been dropping catches. They haven't created any presence whatsoever, and Australia have been the other way. They're taking, you're seeing the catch Gardner took, you're seeing Phoebe's catch the other day. They're on. They want to prove a point in this series, and I know we might get to it later, but I'll have to go through the rundown. But someone predicted that they would not get a point off us in the white ball form of the game.
Oh, who was that, Bradley?
Well, we'll get to it later, but it was...
Is he wearing a trucker hat by any chance and talking to a microphone right now?
Well, I just thought at the start of this series, England's best form and chances to get points of us is in the 2020. They do play 2020 cricket well. But I just think they're so switched on, this Australian team. They were building up since they were knocked out of the World Cup for this series. And this is a really statement series for them. And so far, they've dominated everything they've done.
Yeah, Ash Gardner, by the way, got player of the match. So maybe that screamer that she took tipped it her way, but Alana King, outstanding again. And Hads, you've won a series, and okay, say if England have made it 6-2 after the T20, it's still very much Australia in control of this Women's Ashes series. But you've been involved in an Ashes series when you're on top, and at what point does it tip towards let's really ram it home, our advantage here, as opposed to, oh, I've won the series and whatever else happens?
Well, 30 beers in, I reckon, after winning the series. No, it's an Ashes campaign, Adam. And I tell you what, they'll be as hungry. And I know when we did it in 2013, once we got in front 3-0, it was amazing the energy in the group changed. And that changed to say, no, we've got the opportunity here to go 5-0. And that's something dreams are made of. They're marquee events. You want to dominate these events as a player. So this Australian team will enjoy what they've done. They need to win one more game to get the Ashes, but they'll want a clean sweep. No doubt in the world against England. If they've got the opportunity to make a statement, not only to England, but world cricket, they will want to demoralise England and not let them leave this shore with anything positive out of their cricket.
If England have won at the SCG, please send us a DM to say up yours if you're an English cricket fan. But if it's
that won't be the first
if
time.
it's 8-0, it's 8-0. Second T20 is on Thursday in Canberra. Third is on Saturday at Adelaide Oval. Now, before we go to the break and have our drinks break here on Willow Talk, after the break, we're going to talk about Big Bash. We're going to have got Sundries and we've got our shout-outs, which I can't wait for. We're back and we're talking Big Bash Hads. BBL Finals are locked in. The Stars beat the Hurricanes by 40 runs on Sunday at the MCG to complete one of the biggest form reversals in BBL history. At one point, we thought they were like that seagull, a deep mid-off on that night at the MCG, Gonski. But no, they've rejuvenated themselves. So on Tuesday night in Hobart, the Hurricanes host the Sixers. That's tonight as you listen to this. If you're listening on the day it drops, the winner of the Canes and Sixers host the final. On Wednesday, the Thunder play the Stars in Sydney. Stay away rain. Winner plays the loser of Sixers Hurricanes on Friday. Loser knocked out of that one. Then on Monday, it's the final. So 8 down to 4. Let's start with the Stars. How on earth did 0-5 turn to 5-0 to make the finals, Hads?
I've had a deep dive into this, and it happens most years in the Big Bash. We see teams start slow and get on a rhythm at the back end of the tournament, and that's exactly what the Stars done. But a bit of credit's got to go to Marcus Stoinis here as well. This is the first time he's actually captained a franchise, and he didn't panic. Going back and listen to his interviews when they were losing, he was really clear on they're comfortable with the style they're playing. Yes, we've got to tinker with a few little parts of our game. We're just losing some big moments or little moments that turn into big results for them. But he hasn't panicked. He hasn't panicked the whole time. He's trusted their game style. They've moved Maxwell down to 6. Well, I think that's his best position now. The way he plays, he can... Where the game situation is, we've seen him score a lot of his runs down there when Australia have been under pressure. He did it against Afghanistan. We've seen a lot of his batting come in there when the game looks like it's gone. And what he can do, and he's got a unique skill that not a lot of players do, he can change momentum so quick in the game. But what he also does, he changes the way the opposition captain reacts. When Maxwell comes in, all of a sudden there's a lot of decisions to make. do we put someone back on the reverse sweep? We've got to keep fine leg back because he might ramp. So he puts a lot of pressure straight back on the opposition captors and fielders, and that's what he's done. I think it's been a remarkable turnaround, but their leadership needs to be given a big tip because they trusted what they were doing. And there's one team, when you're getting ready for the finals, and there was the Hurricanes, the Sixers, and the Thunder, I would have been sitting there going, and everyone will say, I don't care who I play, we'll just concentrate on us. No. You would be nervous about the Stars because they've got match winners in the team. If Maxwell has a night out, Stoinis has a night out, they win the game, and we've seen that in the last 5 games. Maxi's had a night out and dominated the fixtures, so it's a big tick to the Stars. The Thunder have got a real game on their hand against them now. I know the Thunder will enjoy their home conditions, but I actually wouldn't want to be coming up against the Stars in this sort of heater in a final.
Yeah, so just on Glenn Maxwell, last 5 games, Duck, 20 not, 58 not, 90, 76 not, strike rate of 192. So not just scoring runs, but dominating.
Well, he is dominating, but he's also, you got to go back to the game he got 90 against the Stars. Oh, sorry, against the Renegades. They put the partnership on with Murr at the end. He didn't get a run. Maxi had to use his cricket smarts to manipulate the game. And you've got to remember, they're under pressure here to stay in the competition. So what he's done, not only with the bat, but as I said before, the pressure he puts on everyone else makes life uncomfortable. So, yeah, he's been, mate, even big Peter Siddle. Mate, I just seen he just signed for another year. Mate, he's taking the handbrake off. He
was done.
Yeah.
Like he said, no way in the world I'm playing on. All of a sudden he sends a couple down at 145 plus and, I'll go again.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of Big Bash. At his age, he's still getting excited what the crowd brings, the game style, excited about being in a final. And guys like Sids as well, that they know how to come up for these big games. He's done it in Ashes time and time again. So expect the big name players for the Stars now to fire. And Curran's back, and that's a huge his all-round ability, but also more so the way he bowls on the conditions out at Homebush. So, yeah, I wouldn't want to be facing the Stars.
Also more so. Well done there. Who wins, Thunder Stars?
Oh, I'm going to go the Stars. I think they're just on a roll.
Here's my question. I can't wait for this one.
Sixers.
Hurricane 6. Mr. Magenta, how are they going to win without Steve Smith?
Yeah, it's interesting watching the Sixers go into the final. They've been a dominant team all year. All of a sudden, Abbott goes out, Smith goes out, and Murphy. And the one thing, knowing their backroom staff and knowing Moses, they would have planned for this. So you've got the likes of Curtis Patterson come in, Ben Menenti. They're going to bring in experienced players. And when you're setting up your list, yes, you get your superstars and you got Smith there, you got Abbott. But you've got to have an eye to, okay, when these guys leave, what's the team going to look like? And the Sixers have done that well. They've got enough cover. They've got their injury concerns as well. Hobart Hurricanes. I've seen Gannon came in, which he's experienced because they've lost now Billy Stanlake. And I think one of their big strengths, the Hurricanes, were their 4 fast bowlers. They had Riley Meredith, who can bowl at serious gas, but he's starting to have a bit more cricket smarts in his game. Ellis and Jordan, I think, 2 in this format who are as tactically as good as anyone, the way they change ups, the way they bowl to their field. So Billy Stanlake was just the icing on the cake to bowl it with the new ball, bowl up front, be intimidating. So they brought Gannon into the team. He's experienced. He'll add to that list, but I also like what the Hurricanes have done with Matthew Wade. They've moved him down where he won the World Cup for us in 2022 in the UAE. He's batting at number 5 and 6. So he's out there now. And talk about the way Tim David's played. And it's been nothing short of brutal. But when you got Matthew Wade at the other end, they complement each other. You got a 6'3" power hitter, likes to... doesn't matter where the field is, hits down the ground. But you got Matthew Wade at the other end now. He can play all the trick shots. He's got a good cricket brain. He'll calm Tim David down in the middle and get more of a structure to what he's trying to do. So I think that's a really, really smart move. And Ben McDermott's back now. That's a big in. Caleb Jewell, he's come up the top of the order and given them that aggressive start that they needed. So, and they don't lose anyone, but I can't go against the Magenta.
Fair enough. I knew you wouldn't. Just on Matty Wade, have you ever done what he did the other night to run out Hilton Cartwright, the other end?
Yep.
Get the glove off, ping.
Yep.
Thanks very much.
Yep.
Keep running.
We used to do it to Australian selector all the time, George Bailey. There's some absolute howlers of George. George used to hit the ball and lose concentration all the way, just sort of wander up to the other end. I think he did it in maybe a Champions Trophy in England against Sri Lanka once. Sam will find the footage, but we used to plan for that with George Bailey. He used to sort of wander up, have a chat to short cover mid-wicket on the way and forget that there was a game going on. But, I've done it. I think I did it to maybe Jimmy Marr in a one-dayer.
Oh, you would have liked that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Any advice for him? Did he walk back past you to get to the sheds, or did he
there's
have
no
to just
advice
keep
for
going
Marbo
like
because
the
you
latest
knew
game?
you'd get it tenfold back.
Fair enough. So Sixers to host the final. There's a shock from Brad Haddin. Heard it here first on Willow Talk. The ones who are having their little post-mortem, I don't know. Do you have a Mad Monday or a little drink at the end of things if things don't go your way, if you miss the finals?
Well, that's why you play. You talk about
finals.
Well, that's why you play, don't you? You play for trophies. If not, your trophies, your Mad Monday celebration with everyone. They all will. It's too professional now to know. Like the Scorchers, mate, they'll have a interesting one. They haven't had this situation for a long time. They've dominated the competition. So they'll all have their reviews at the end.
And they've got some names that have been there for a while. Berendorf Ty, not retained. Marsh as well, which means they're free agents when the 10-day player movement window opens the day after the final. They're not used to having things go against them in terms of results over there in the West. It'll be interesting to see how they respond for next season.
Oh, they'll respond. Adam Vose just is too good an operator, and this day was coming. They've got a few guys older in their list that they've hung on and done an amazing job, Berendorf and AJ Ty. But the one thing they have, they got a lot of talent coming through over there, so they'll reassess. Mate, they keep getting stars out like Cooper Connolly, so there's enough talent over there for them to be successful. They won't spend another season out of the top four. I wouldn't be too worried about that. They're too good of outfit.
Renegades started so promisingly and then just fell away badly. But conversely, Jake Fraser-McGurk finally came good at the end there. One of the innings of the entire Big Bash. How do you sum up their campaign? A big missed opportunity?
Oh, they were one of the teams that everyone thought at the start were going to be competing in the finals. But I had a look at their game the other night. They unearthed a few kids, actually. They're going to... I think Cameron White's... they'll be disappointed that they've missed the finals. Don't get me wrong there, but Cameron White's also put some games into some young kids. We've seen young Peake debut the other night. Dixon's has played the last few games. He's a talent left-hand bat. Jake Fraser-McGurk, he's still only 22, and I like the way he came out of his form slump. That shows a lot of character to what he did in that last game against the Heat. They were chasing a big total. He's had a disappointing tournament from his standard. But I tell you what, he came out when he needed to deliver and gave Renegades an opportunity to play finals. So they've found quite a few really, really good kids. So expect them to be a team on the rise in the next couple of years. They'll add a bit of experience where they need to, but they've got some really good kids there, the Renegades.
Remind me, Hads, shoot me down from the sky if I get this wrong. Rooster doesn't have an IPL gig, does he? He didn't get picked up in the auction?
Yeah, 1.6 million at Delhi.
That's right. Okay. Producer Sam, just wipe that, will you? It kind of skipped over my brain.
Do not take what
Delhi would be...
Producer Sam says today. I'm watching him, and you can't see him. You got your back to him. He's still enjoying the moment. He's got no shirt on still. He keeps playing on repeat that cricket nerd stuff we spoke about. That's weird.
Okay, I'll flip that then. Delhi would be satisfied then to see that from Rooster towards the end of the Big Bash, a little more relieved about their impending investment in the kid.
Well, he's a talent. We've seen what he's done on the world stage, and he dominated IPL for a period there of about 3 to 4 weeks. What he was doing in the whole of India, the talk was about Jake Fraser McGurk. That was the talk in the IPL. Everyone in the crowd was about him. He was putting bums on seats, and you got to realise he's only a young kid learning his game, and you've got to take your hat off to him. That okay, he's been on the mic every game for Fox. He's talking about the game. He's a great personality. He's a great kid. But the one thing I liked about it, he aimed up when he needed to. Everyone goes through these patches in form, and what you've got to take your hat off is he came out at the time his team needed him. So there's a lot of character there. There's more talent there in his little finger than most of us had in our whole life. So, mate, I just like that he's learning.
Heat, strikers, quick word on them before we wrap up the Big Bash chat.
The Heat, disappointing. Defending champs, had a really good bowling attack. But they got put under pressure the last 2 games. They couldn't defend 201 and 190. So they got some decisions to make. Munro didn't have the effect that he's had in the past. He's getting a bit later in his career, so they got a decision to make there. Renshaw was outstanding, I think, in the middle order. Maxi Bryant's found a new home down the bottom and is a power hitter, which is but they just, they'll be disappointing. They changed their coach this year. They got rid of Wade Seacombe, who was the premiership winning coach. Johan Botha took over, so he'll have to do a lot of work to get this team back to where they should, because they probably had a better list than not making the finals. So they'll be disappointed. The strikers, first year under Tim Payne, their best is as good as anyone in the competition. We've seen that, the way they play. He'll have a few things that he'll have a look at in his list, but what he's done, he's got a real winning attitude and a style of game that he wants to play with the strikers, and it'll take time to turn around. But the one thing I liked about them is at their best, they're dynamic, they're great to watch. Pope was outstanding with his leg spin this year, so a couple of additions to that squad, and they'll be a top 4 team next year.
Looking forward to the Big Bash Finals this week, and we'll wrap it all up next week on Willow Talk after the final. To Sundries and to Multan, where Pakistan beat the West Indies by 127 runs. Real shock. It turned a bit. Sajid Khan was player of the match for his 9 wickets. He's the Sultan of Multan, this fella. He can't stop taking wickets. He opened the bowling against England, dominated them. He's done the same here against the West Indies. Pakistan spinners took all 20 wickets. It was the shortest test with a result in Pakistan. Only 1,064 balls across the match. The Windies were bowled out twice in just 61.5 overs, also a record. Had's a pitches, and we talk of protractors before and getting your angles right and the ball turning at 45 degrees in the first over of the match. Is this good for cricket, or has it gone a little too far?
Well, it's actually a good question, Adam, because how do you judge success? Do you judge success on winning your home games and playing your conditions well, like Pakistan have done in the last 2 test matches? They'll put under pressure against England. They made a real strategic plan to say, no, we're going to spin-friendly wickets. And 2 tests in a row, 20 wickets have been taken by spin. So that's extreme. The one thing Pakistan have got to realise, are they happy to win their home test matches like this and come to all the way in other countries around the world and get dominated? Is it best for their development of cricket? That's what they've got to work out. Are they happy with winning the home series and getting dominated, or do they want to get their cricketers better to be better all-round cricketers? And that's the question that they need to ask.
Good teams win at home. Great teams win in difficult conditions away from home. That's where the greatest moments in cricket happen. Am I wrong?
Yeah, 100% correct. Pakistan are playing their home conditions well, but they're a totally different team, and at stages not competitive away from home. And that's a decision they've got to make. Are the wickets they're playing on making their cricketers better all-round cricketers and a better cricket team, or are they just happy to take a result like this in the win and run?
60, no, wait, less than that. What has he got? 19, 21, 21 plus 32 is 53. So 53 wickets for Sajid Khan in his Test career, and 18 of them, 48 of them have come in Pakistan or Bangladesh. So there you go. Just doing the sums on his career so far. So he's a wizard over there, and he's going to cause nightmares for the Windies in the second Test. But yeah, very good point there you make, Bradley. Jasprit Bumrah set to test his fitness in the third one-dayer against England. He's been named in India's Champions Trophy squad pending fitness. It's a stress-related injury for Bumrah, but not a stress fracture, which sounds very similar to each other. But anyway, they know what they're doing, the India Medicos. They host England for 5 T20s starting Thursday, then 3 one-dayers. So, yeah, he'll come in right at the end to see how he is possibly for the Champions Trophy. Bit like the question about Pat Cummins. Do you really want to risk him?
No.
They've got a big tour of England coming up.
Well,
where he could absolutely dominate and take about 50 wickets for the series over there with what he can do.
Well, it all depends on what their priorities. It's interesting that the way that's worded, actually. It's a stress-related injury, but not a stress fracture. And my understanding of that is they've obviously got it early, and the more you push him, it's just about to go. So they've got a decision to make there. As a fan, every time you watch India, you want him there. That's the reason this summer was so successful. Obviously, India were out of every test match. It was just a Bumrah that kept them in with his sheer class. So that's a hard one to answer if you're an Indian selector. They've got to prioritise what they think's important. And if there's any chance that they're going to aggravate this and increase to a stress fracture, he's already had surgery on his back. He had the surgery, and not a lot of people can come back from. So, yeah, they've got some really interesting conversations around Bumrah and what they think's important coming up. He's got IPL as well. I'd imagine he'd want to be available for that. But it looks like that. Well, it sounds like the way that's worded that they've got it early, and now they've got to be really clear on their management plan.
I reckon his IPL franchise might have a say in things as well, just quietly. Lollipops for gloves in Sundries. In Hobart after the third one day, a fan traded 3 lollipops for Elisa Healy's wicket-keeping gloves. Hads, have you ever made a trade along these lines for your gloves? Because you always get asked for them, don't you? Yeah, can I have your gloves? Can I have your gloves?
Yeah, I tell you what, the players here, and Heels has done the same. I've seen that she handed the gloves over. This happens actually quite a lot. The cameras don't pick it up. David Warner, I reckon, does it every game with the batting gloves. He takes a new pair of batting gloves into every innings. But a lot of the time, if you watch him walk off, he hands his gloves. I've seen Steve Smith do it. I've seen guys hand over helmets. I've handed over wicket-keeping gloves, batting gloves, and the excitement the kids get on the face when they receive it. You just walk past it and watch closely when Warner and Smith and that come off. A lot of the time, especially at the back end of a series, they'll just hand their gloves. So what Heels did here, don't underestimate the importance this has in our game. The kids absolutely love it. You see it happen a lot in football codes where they hand their boots over. I think I've seen rugby league players walking off in just their budgie smugglers where they've handed equipment over. So I like that players do it. I hope it's a trend that continues, but I've never swapped them for lollipops. What flavour were they?
Not sure, but what I do know is that Heels was more excited than the kid to get the lollipops and the kid getting the gloves. She was like jumping up and down. Like she was.
Both of them were kid in the candy shop.
Yeah. Lovely work, Heels. Lovely work. Now, to end this episode of Willow Talk, we're into shout-outs.
Let's end here.
So these have come through. Okay. We'll start with Jacob. Hey, big fan of the podcast. Thank you, Jacob. Wanted to share a story about when I met Hads. I lived in New Zealand as a kid. Oh, here we go. But don't worry, I am a true Aussie.
Oh, that was so bad.
Okay. It's turned around, actually. I was sick and in hospital for a while. I had to make a wish to meet the one-day Australian team that was touring New Zealand. Must have been around 2010. I got to meet the whole team, and Hads was such a legend. I knew he wouldn't remember this, but just wanted Hads to know how awesome it was to meet him, and he's a big hero of mine. Cheers. I told you shout-outs wasn't going to be bad, Hads. This is wonderful. It's great to hear from Jacob.
Well, it is great to hear from Jacob. The other thing is, I've been through this with my daughter, and guys like Jacob and me went through the same. They spend long periods of time in hospital. They miss a lot of interaction with school and their friends, and this happens most games with Australia. People come in and they get the opportunity to meet their heroes. And the one thing the Australian cricket team has done on many occasions, that they make this experience for someone like Jacob coming in worthwhile. It's great for the players to meet Jacob and hear his story and hear the passion that he has for the players. Like, I know there's a picture here I'm looking at with Ricky Ponting. Imagine the
couple of photos. Yeah.
Opportunity he had to talk to punter. But, mate, we do remember these days, Jacob, and we're just so glad that we can make your experience a really good one because, we actually enjoy this as much as you.
Now to a story a little less wholesome, but thank you, Jacob. Really appreciate that. And, I can see the smile on Hads' face recalling your meeting with him. Kartik got in touch. Now, he was a part of the Swami Army back in 2014, watching when Hads and his mates tried to get under Virat Kohli's skin in Melbourne, which worked, but then Watto dropped Virat and he went on to make a big 100. Kartik says he was giving it to Hads, then Hads gave it back when he took a screamer late in the day in front of Watto, and says Hads is a good bloke now and loves his analysis and view of the game. But do you remember all this? You've told the story how you tried to kind of muscle into Virat and kind of get into his mind, and he turned around and said, I know exactly what you guys are doing, and then he just went and played majestically. But do you remember that late in the day and giving it back to the crowd, Hads?
Well, the Swami Army, I'm 150 metres away from you. So, yes,
80.
Mate, 80. The big boundaries down in that pocket at the MCG. But the crowd and the Swami Army, they're as passionate as anyone about the game. But, mate, I don't think I would have reacted. One, I wouldn't be able to hear because I would have been too nervous about trying to get rid of Virat Kohli. But, mate, the Swami Army, also the Barmy Army, mate, they're part of the theatre of playing Test cricket. I remember the first time I met the Barmy Army. It was in 2005, and I was walking drinks around the ground. And I wasn't going to play that series, and they had a song for everyone. And as I walked around, and there's a couple of ways you can ignore them, you can get them on side, you can have some banter with them. You've got a decision to make real quick what you're going to do. And they were singing a song about me. Who are you? Who are you? We don't even know your name. And they were getting good laugh out of it. I wasn't really acknowledging it. And I thought, you know what, bugger this. So I did a lap. I went back and got a program. And I circled my head and wrote my name underneath it. And when I walked past, I just showed them. I said, my name's Brad. I'm number 16 on the program. And I got good humour. The Barmy Army did out of it. So the next time I walked around, they said, we know your name now, but you're still shit or something. But it's different ways to deal with it. I always had some good fun with the Barmy Army, but the Swami Army, I do remember them.
Muzzy sent through a message from Bridgend, South Wales. Muzzy says, been a fan of the pod for a few years now, listening to all the chat and banter too from work as a paramedic. I play for Bridgend Town Cricket Club. Would love a shout out and some info about how to get a trucker hat over here in the UK. So we like Muzzy because he's not English, he's Welsh. So first things first.
Yeah,
we'll get a trucker hat somehow.
You were reading through that, I was waiting to see where he was from and get in contact with producer Sam, send you information and we'll find you a trucker hat. But as long as you debut it somewhere in the UK at a cricket match so you can get the banter it deserves, Muzzy will find you something.
And Muzzy, just quietly, as a return, if you want to trade, we'd love a Bridgend Town Cricket Club hat as well to add to our collection and wear on the show. Christopher asks, well, firstly, he says, love the podcast. Question for Hads on the pod. Why does he and others still pick Uzi ahead of others? His numbers have been on a steady decline for a long time. I just listened to the latest pod suggesting Head and Uzi should open in Sri Lanka. Why not let Constas open to learn, as he is the future?
No doubt. Sam's at future, and he might open. I was just going on that when Australia had success in India, Travis Head went to the top of the order. And I imagine this test series is going to move real quick in short spaces of time. So Uzi's earned the right. I think he's still in the Australian team. He's played well in the subcontinent. His form of late has not been what he would have liked, but, mate, Uzi's a true performer. And there's no reason to leave him out of the team at the moment. So you need your experienced players there. He plays conditions in the subcontinent really well. That's one part of his game that he's improved on, and he's as good as anyone. So in the talk, if Steve Smith's under an injury cloud, you need those players around. I'm not saying Sam won't be in the team. I think we've got to find a way to get the young talent in the future into the team, and whether he plays or he doesn't play, this will be a great learning experience for all. There's no reason why they both can't be in the team.
Well, we'll find out in just over a week. Hi, Adam, Hads and Heels, and producer Sam. I'm just listening with interest to the chat about the two-tier system with Lisa. For me, it needs to be 6 and 6, with everyone playing everyone home and away every cycle, plus one team from the other pool. That way, even when England drop out of T1, we can still have the Ashes. Maybe the World Test Championship needs to push out to a 3-year cycle and T2 play a championship as well, with the winner being promoted. India, Australia and England don't need the ICC funding, true, but the ICC needs to support all test-playing nations, true. Good on paper. I don't know how logistically you'd make that work.
I think keep throwing us the ideas. We don't have an answer for this. We want Test cricket to be strong, and it was this summer. Test cricket was everything everyone was talking about. The numbers, whether at the ground or around Fox and Triple M and everything like that, were high end. But we don't have an answer. We've thrown a lot around, and people with a lot more nous than us will be thinking about this and making decisions. But the one thing we do know, we need everyone to be successful at Test cricket. We need Test cricket to stay the pinnacle. We've got to find a way for West Indies and teams like that to be attracted to Test cricket. So, yeah, keep throwing up your answers.
Yeah, I do like, though, in that question, it was the assumption that England are the ones that would drop out of Tier 1 back to Tier 2. But, yeah, shout out.
Oh, you like that, don't you?
Last question. You like it more. Last question. We love our English listeners, and we're going to have so much more content for you in 2025 ahead of the Ashes. But last question. Dr. Shark is back in touch. The doc says, question for Bradley. Of all the teammates he played with in the Australian cricket team, who had the best tattoos or the fondness for tattoos? And does Hads have one? Warm regards, Dr. Shark.
Dr. Shark.
Got a tat?
I know the ones. Mitchell Johnson had a fondness for tattoos. He's got some great ones on his ribs and his arms, but he's also got the rig to do it. I know Michael had a few. A lot of Test players you would know have their Test number tattooed
in case they forget.
Just in case they forget. Yep. So a lot of people have that. I've got a couple on my chest.
Yep.
Kids' names, Moment of Madness, just in case I forget them. Yeah, I've got that. But a lot of players have their kids, not their kids' names. Their Test number and one-day number.
Well, it's fair for cricketers to put their kids' names on them because they are away so much that they could actually forget them. So,
well, you got to remember them.
Exactly. Remember, oh, that's their names. I've got to give them a present when I go home. Dad, what'd you get me? Yeah, I got your tattoo. It's on me. Yeah, I'm not going to forget you.
Do you have one?
There you go. No, why ruin this canvas? I'm scared of needles.
Oh, I thought you had a dolphin just above your left bum cheek. Is that true?
Yeah. Yeah. A butterfly just at the base of my spine there. Yeah.
You know, producer Sam's got?
What?
Wisdom cricketer tattooed on his just above his heart.
Yeah. No, I wonder if someone from Australian cricket will ever now get that scene on when Gaz is appealing at the MCG for that last wicket, Mohammad Siraj LB, and you've got all those, and you got Marnus sprawled across the ground trying to run Siraj out and take the catch at the same time. One of my favourite images of the summer.
Yep.
Just Marnus, but that is an iconic photo. Maybe someone can send us through a tattoo that they've got on their shoulder or something of that scene.
Mate, that'd be a good tattoo. You could get that just above your dolphin.
A lot of work. That's Willow Talk. Have a good one, mate. Speak soon.
See you, mate.
Thanks for listening. Yeah, thanks for watching the Willow Talk podcast on YouTube. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you don't have to miss an episode wherever you are. And while you're at it, check out these videos up here. They're mostly good.